What up guys, Brinks here, and welcome to the second episode of Kameo Class with Smoke. So Smoke's one of the characters in this game that gets a lot of good stuff from many different cameos, and he doesn't just have one definitive best cameo, at least not at this point in the meta. So I wanted to create this series to go through a lot of the better cameo options and really show off some of the cool shit that Smoke can do with each of them. For this episode, we're going to cover the most popular and possibly the best cameo for Smoke, the Low Hat Machine himself, KungLao. To absolutely no one's surprise, Lao has quite a lot to offer Smoke. While you don't get much from his teleport, his spin and especially Low Hat augment Smoke's already strong offense in pretty crazy ways, so let's get into it. Starting with Lao's teleport, the main reason to use this move with other characters is as a weird combo extension that can make certain moves plus enough on hit to let you combo from them by canceling your recovery frame. Unfortunately, Smoke doesn't have any moves like this. Most of his normals can serve as combo starters on their own thanks to his telecancel and EX teleport. And for the normals that can't be extended with the telecancel, they don't have enough hit stun for Lao's slow-ass teleport to help at all. Some characters can even use this teleport to combo from their back throw. But canceling Smoke's back throw just causes the opponent to suddenly fling themselves back before you have any chance of comboing them. The only use I can find for it, other than just as a slightly armored but very slow teleport that you'll basically never want to use, is to cancel the end of a jump 112 into the held version so you can immediately land on top of the opponent with an aerial as they're getting off the ground. This is hyper gimmicky though, and the advantage you have after a normal jump 112 is enough to just call Low Hat and enforce a much stronger mix-up than one that's much more ignorant, that doesn't slow down the recharge of your cameo bar. So I don't really see much reason to go for this, but hey, and gimmicks are funny when they work. The next move is a lot more useful for Smoke, KungLao's classic spin. While some characters get good mileage out of this as a meterless launcher, Smoke can generally combo into his 3-2 meterless launcher from almost all his main normals thanks to his Vicious Vapors cancel. So this doesn't really matter much unless you're struggling to perform the cancel combos consistently. Then I guess the spin can still help you get combos, though if you really want to play Smoke, I strongly recommend you master his cancel, as it really opens up the character and lets you do flashy dumb shit like this. The main place that spin really matters for Smoke is after a 1-1-1 4 string, which can be turned into a full combo. This is incredible for two reasons. First, being able to get a full combo from your 7-frame stand 1, which is Smoke's fastest normal, just gives you much stronger punishes on things that would be harder or impossible to punish with your 10-frame forward 1 or 12-frame stand 3. Without cameos, stand 1 only leads to about 15%. Second, after a forward 3 telecancel, the only move that still combos is stand 1. Putting that all together, Smoke can turn his 13-frame unreactable low forward 3 into a full, completely hit confirmable combo. This all makes his forward 3 an incredible pressure option to throw out and block strings, or to read a poke or neutral duck once you've conditioned your opponent to expect a throw after a teleport cancel. It essentially turns forward 3 into an excellent mid, letting you pressure and therefore hit confirm into big damage in situations that you normally couldn't, or would need to take a huge risk with forward 3-2, which is quite easy to up-block on reaction. Additionally, a more situational but still very strong use for the spin is the
Spin Visible technique!
To perform this secret Shinobi and Shaolin hybrid technique, after comboing into spin from certain strings, you immediately input an EX down back 2, followed by an instant jump 112, and you'll be plus 44 and invisible. The coolest part about all this is you don't really have to give up much damage to do this mid-screen. Normally when you get an opening, you'll be telecanceling into 3-2 to start your juggle anyways. So if you want to do the
spin visible technique,
instead of going for your second 3-2 here like you would for your normal B&B, do a slightly delayed 2-1-2 instead into spin and the rest of the combo. You'll end up with comparable damage to your B&B, but with a super plus knockdown and a few seconds of invisibility, all for just 1 bar. And if you remember the previous section, we can also get the
spin visible technique
off of our forward 3 hit confirm link. In the corner, you can do all of this too, except forward 1-2, 1+3 combos into spin here when you have the corner, which means you can do your full corner B&B, and instead of ending with a special, you just do the
spin visible technique
after the forward 1-2 string. You'll lose the corner, but you'll be invisible and ready to make your opponent eat shit. And then the final use of spin is not as exciting as the others, but still useful as an invincible reversal or wake up. Smoke's armored move is on the slower side, so it'll be matchup dependent on when you'll be using the spin versus the EX down back 2, but sometimes you would also rather use the Kameo meter to get out of pressure and keep the bar for breaker or going invisible, so it's nice to have as an option. Just be careful, as Smoke Ball is -14 and spin is -15 on block, so neither is without risk. Now for the main event and namesake of Larry Lohat himself. Just like half of the roster, Lao's Lohat is the reason you'll be picking him with Smoke. The move is more well-rounded than some characters in this game, even after the nerf, and similar to Sector Up Rocket, it really turns Smoke into a crayon-eating baby character. To start, as you likely know, it is a great neutral tool that forces your opponent to deal with it, and with Smoke specifically, you kind of get a free way in once it's out. The obvious way to avoid Lohat is to jump it, but Smoke has one of the best anti-airs in the game with standing 1, or he could just snipe you with Shadow Blade for some easy damage, so your opponent may be hesitant to jump. If they choose to just wait and block it, well, then that means no one is going to stop you from dashing or teleporting right in behind it. Since you can release the hat whenever, you can usually time it so that it hits right after a teleport cancel, which makes you fairly safe to any normal punish attempt, though some armor attacks may still be able to punish you. If your opponent is off with their punish attempt and gets clipped by the hat, you can sometimes even full combo them if you're quick enough. Now getting into some of the more gross setups with Lohat, if you have a hat out, you can just YOLO a smoke ball and time the hat so that they hit at the same time, which creates an easy little overhead low mix situation for minor reward and decently high risk. A better version of this setup is to EX the smoke ball. Normally, against a competent player, if you just YOLO an EX smoke ball, you're going to be anti-aired every single time. But if you time the low hat to connect at the same time, the opponent has to think twice about how to deal with it. If they're too scared to do anything and they just block, well, now there's an invisible smoke right in front of them. The best option for the opponent to deal with this situation is to jump forward over the hat as soon as Smoke starts to throw the smoke ball, which will avoid both moves, but then they'll still have to deal with an invisible smoke, though at least from further away. The opponent can also jump and try to meet you in the air with their best air string as soon as you reappear from the smoke ball. But this only works on the EX smoke ball, since they're getting hit if they try this with the regular one. Generally though, you don't want to be relying on setups like this from too far away, as the counterplay is much harder up close when there's less time for them to react. But it all depends on how much smoke counterplay that your opponent is aware of and what they'll let you get away with. Although, given the amount of anti-smoke whining and propaganda that I've seen online, there is a decent chance that your opponent has no actual clue what they're doing against this character, and will let you get away with a lot more than you would expect. Now, back to the hat machine. If you're close enough after placing a hat, you can just do a back 2 into a teleport cancel and release the hat at the same time for a gross overhead low mix that leads to a combo either way.
Invisible technique.
So it is a pretty safe thing to just go for if you can. A raw low hat can be a fun option to mix in during your cancel pressure to keep your opponent on their toes and to overwhelm their mental stack while chipping away at their health. Though it's now -3 on block, so you can't just do this non-stop. Plus, your opponent can usually just mash or armor to get out of the cancel blender anyways, but it's still an option. Finally, onto probably the most disgusting use for low hat with smoke. While smoke can also do the easy low overhead mix with a delayed hat and a jump in that many characters can do after some knockdowns, smoke gets to also do this, but while invisible. In fact, invisible smoke becomes way scarier thanks to Mr. Larry. One of the common ways to deal with invisible smoke is to try and poke him out of it, depending on the setup, especially after poke or block string into EX Smoke Ball. Many of these setups can also be done after setting a delayed low hat, which tends to discourage your opponent from trying to poke you out of it. And if your opponent can't stop the setup by mashing, then they generally just have to block, which gives you full control of the situation. And by now, we all know what happens when you let a smoke player out of the playpen without an adult. Alright, that concludes the second episode of Kameo Klass with Smoke. If you made it this far, you're awesome and I appreciate you. If you loved or hated this style of video, I welcome any feedback and I try to respond to all of my comments. Please like and subscribe if you did enjoy it. There's more on the way. Motaro is the next one on the list. No promises yet, but I'm shooting for Saturday the 20th. I would really like to try and get one of these Kameo classes out once a week. Otherwise, I'm slowly working on the Quan Chi guide in the meantime. I've been away from my PC for 2 weeks for the holidays, so I'm trying to catch up now that I'm back. And also for those of you still listening, I've had a few viewers mention streaming, and I'm debating doing a sort of first impressions and or lab stream for Chameleon this week when she drops, so let me know if you'd be into that. And I might consider lab or Combat League streams potentially too, for future ones if people would tune into that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Later.